I want to dedicate this episode to the memory of Scott Hall, better known as 90s wrestling fans as Razor Ramon. Well, welcome back to another episode of Born to Talk About Sports. I am your host, Steve Bourne, and pretty much today is going to be a big freaking correction on what I talked about last week, how I thought the Major League Baseball lockout could go until May, and 72 hours later, they get a deal done. Well, I got a bit of egg on my face, but as a baseball fan, thank you, Lord. Baseball is back. Something to talk about besides the NHL trade deadline for the next few weeks. Next week, because the NHL trade deadline is Monday the 21st, Monday March 21st, and I'm recording this on Tuesday March 15th. Well, like I said, we got a deal done. A few huge things, including an international draft instead of just pick and choose any international free agents. You've got expanded playoffs. Starting next season, you're going to ban the shift where the outfielders can play on, the infielders can play on any side of the base. Starting next year, the shortstop has to play on the left side of second base, and the second baseman has to play on the right side of second base, and same with the third baseman has to play on the left side. You can't load up everybody to one side or the complete other, depending on the batter if he's left or right-handed. But that doesn't start till next year. Also, next year starts the more balanced schedule, where you don't play every team in your division nine times at home and 9 times on the road. Because also another thing they brought in is the universal DH. Starting this year, pitchers do not hit anymore. Every team will have a DH. It makes life easier, especially for managers. Makes life easier for umpires too, so they don't have to worry about double switching. It's like, okay, you're announcing this guy first, and then this guy, and then so he comes into this spot. It avoids all the confusion. Because right now, the only time you ever want to see a pitcher hit is Shohei Ohtani with the Angels. Other than that, the DH, it's kind of it's more than necessary right now. If anything, now that American League teams play National League teams every time now, there's no more advantage. Like I talked about on my last episode, that National League teams always had the advantage. Either they gained a hitter or the American League lost a hitter when they went to a National League park. Now it's same across the board, and that starts this year. And so next year, with the new schedule, every team plays every team. The Blue Jays will play the Padres. The Angels will play the Braves. And it's just complete scale balance around the board. Pretty much it's gone to the way that the NBA and the NHL do with East versus West. The same rules apply. There's no difference, and all the rules now are still the same. Are the same now across the board. I mean, they were smart to get rid of the pitchers hitting in the All-Star game a few years ago, and they just again put it to across the board for regular season and playoffs. And to me, that it's about time. As well as with the expanded playoffs, from what I've read, it seems to be a 12-team playoff, 6 on each side. So it sounds like there'll be 2 byes out of the wild card round, and the lowest division winner plus 3 wild cards will, your lowest division winner plays the lowest wild card seed, and your top 2 wild card seeds play each other. And then you've got almost like your wild card round. I don't know if it's one game, best of 3. I haven't heard. I'm assuming it's best of 3. But if it's one game, I'm not a fan of that. If you could win your division, only play one playoff game. That doesn't sound right. But if it is a best of 3, that makes more sense. And then you go into your divisional round, league championship, and then World Series. It's kind of like what the NFL playoffs were up until about a year ago, when you had 2 byes out of the wild card. But I think after what happened last year with Toronto and Seattle both winning 90-plus games and missing the playoffs, while the Atlanta Braves, who were an 87 win team, not only did they get to the playoffs by winning their division, which was incredibly weak, They went on to win the World Series, which just shows you do not need an amazing regular season to win the World Series, or you just need to get it. Because, I mean, we've seen it in every other playoffs before, NBA, Stanley Cup, even NFL. You could have a pretty decent season, but if you get hot at the right time, you're going to the championship. I mean, look at the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals, I think they finished, 10-7, which is a decent record, nothing special. But they got hot at the right time, and next thing you know, they're in the Super Bowl. While one of the best teams in the league, like Tennessee, like Tampa Bay, like Green Bay, you don't get hot at the right time, you could be easily a one and done. And so expanding the playoffs makes it a bit more manageable, just because, I mean, if you're stuck in a really, really good division, I mean, like the American League East last season had 4 90-win teams. That's the first time that's ever happened in baseball history. Normally 90 wins get you the division or at least a wild card spot. If you're the Jays, 91 wins get you, we'll see you in spring training. So I'm a big fan of the expanded playoffs. Ask anybody. I think playoffs should have been expanded years ago. Now with the CBA, they finally have an excuse to do it. Now that free agency and player movement has started, we've gotten some big moves. Matt Olson goes from Oakland to Atlanta for a bunch of prospects, including top two of Atlanta's top three prospects. And then today, Olson signs his big extension with an 8-year extension with Atlanta, which means Freddie Freeman, 2020 National League MVP, is on the open market. The Dodgers are apparently after him. The Blue Jays. I mean, if you'll believe Carlos Baerga, who reported the Marcus Semien signing with the Blue Jays last year, he believes that Freeman is coming to Toronto. I mean, Freeman was born in the States, but both his parents are Canadian. So he has played for the Canadian national team before. So him coming to Toronto wouldn't be a total surprise. That being said, the Jays have a first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who probably had one of the best year as a first baseman in franchise history, and that's including having Carlos Delgado as a first baseman. But Vladdy has been taking ground balls at third, his old position, so maybe the Jays are prepping him in case they do ink Freeman. And then the Yankees make the big trade for Josh Donaldson, giving up Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela. Now, maybe this is just the conspiracy theory in me, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of the reasons they flipped Urshela and Sanchez, besides the bad years they've been having, is the unvaccinated. They potentially could be unvaccinated. Because Major League Baseball has said, and it's according to government rules, that if you're not vaccinated, you cannot come up to Toronto and play the Blue Jays. You will not be allowed in Canada if you're unvaccinated. And Boston and New York have the lowest New York Yankees have the lowest vaccination rates. And then it was reported, even though the Yankees and the Mets play outdoor, since they'd be spending a lot of time in clubhouses and dugouts and stuff, which is a bit more confined. If you're unvaccinated, you can't play home games either if you play for the Yankees or Mets. So, I mean, this is just speculation, but that could be one reason why the Yankees pulled that trigger as well. And let's face it, Josh Donaldson, he's a far cry from what he was in 2014, 2015, and even 2016 with Oakland and Toronto when he won the league MVP in 2015. I mean, he still has a scary power bat, but he's not a good third baseman defensively. And he is, I wouldn't say a human home run derby where it's either an out or home run, but he's not that far off. There's still the Blue Jays just added Kikuchi from Seattle via free agency. Had a fantastic first year with the Mariners and then tapered off the second half of the year. Hopefully for the Blue Jays, Pete, probably considered the best pitching coach in baseball right now, Pete Walker, after what he did with Steven Matz and Robbie Ray, can work his magic and get Kikuchi back to where he was in the first half of 2021, which would probably give the Blue Jays, arguably, them and the Mets, probably the deepest rotations in baseball. So, yeah, that's basically just talking about the Major League Baseball lockout is finally over. We've got some. I'm actually surprised there isn't as many transactions as we thought. You still, again, Freddie Freeman, Kyle Schwarber, guys like that are still available. Um, Technically, Justin Verlander hasn't signed his extension with Houston, even though it was reported he had agreed in principle. And then Clayton Kershaw has signed his 1 year extension with the Dodgers. So again, there's still quite a few free agents out there. I still expect a few trades. Spring training games begin Friday the 18th, and we're looking to a full 162 game season. And Jay's home opener is April 7th, and we're gonna go from there. Again, like this video, use the hashtag. I always screw this up. Hashtag Born Sports. Tell me what you're looking forward to this Major League Baseball season. Are you looking forward to just to get out the games, get out to the games, just watch them on TV, have a cold beer on a Saturday afternoon, sort of deal, or a hot Friday night listening to the radio. Again, thanks for listening. Again, just like I said off the top, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, one of the founding members of the NWO, one of the most popular wrestling groups of all time. Even pop culture. I mean, if you followed pop culture in the 90s, you knew who the NWO were. So, again, thanks for listening. I'll see you next week, and too sweet.